The National Education Association recently voted to support the teaching of critical race theory and defend against efforts to undermine its approach to learning and efforts to ban it in states across the country. With efforts to ban critical race theory likely on the horizon in South Dakota, the South Dakota Education Association is left to balance the interests of state politicians versus their union. Austin Goss tells us more from our Peer Newsroom.
Critical race theory has been at the center of political discussions for the last several months, and South Dakota is no exception. Governor Kristi Noem and her Secretary of Education have spoken out against the teaching of critical race theory. A number of state legislators also signaled their intent to ban it during next year's legislative session.
I don't know what specifically the legislation would look like, but I do think that there is a lot of concern that this far left indoctrination doesn't wind up in our school system. And so I think that there are going to be legislative efforts to make sure that that does not happen.
Last week, the National Education Association voted on new business item 39, which would support critical race theory and its teaching in schools.
Is what we believe is the honesty and complete education, which to me looks like teaching the good and the bad history of our great country.
SDEA President Lauren Paul says that he did not vote in favor of that item, but that he could not speak to how the other 10 members of South Dakota's delegation to the National Conference voted individually. The South Dakota delegation did not take a position on the item. He says as it currently stands, the state has to teach to the existing standards.
I think our process in this state works very well. Once again, the process, the governor appoints the board then works with educators and the public to get input, and it's set by the Board of Education, and our educators have to teach to those standards.
Many argue that the issue is all for naught, and that critical race theory is not something taught outside of high-level graduate courses.
The largest teachers union, who is the parent company of our local SDEA, that says that they support critical race theory and that they want it allowed for, they don't want it banned in any of our schools. And so I think there's just going to be a lot of parents out there who want to be able to trust that when they send their kid to school, that their kid isn't being taught very far left ideology.
The South Dakota Department of Education has not indicated if it would be possible to teach critical race theory in the current curriculum. In Pierre, Austin Goss, Dakota News Now.